I'm joined now by Reuben Brigety, a native Jacksonvillian and current U.S. ambassador to the Republic of South Africa. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I believe you did get with the mayor last night. You got a key to the city. Congratulations.
That's deeply humbling. Thank you very much.
You are a alumnus of Sandalwood High School.
And a proud product of Duval County Public Schools from the time I was in kindergarten. That's correct.
And so do you get back often to Jacksonville? And when you do, what, if any, changes are you seeing?
I don't get back as often as my parents would like, for sure.
They're still here?
Yeah, they're still here. God bless them. My father turns 80 this weekend.
Oh, happy birthday, Dad.
Thank you very much. But, Jacksonville is one of the great mid-major cities in the United States of America. And I'm continually impressed by the increased diversity in the city in terms of how many immigrant populations I see, and the new construction and new development in this large, vast city that we have. And so I've always been proud to claim that I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida, and I can still consider it home.
Do you have any memories of this place that really stand out to you, or were in any way formative for your current career as a diplomat?
Oh, goodness, I have so many. We probably don't have time. I will tell you the last time I was in these studios was probably 35 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I was an active participant in what was then, I think, the Brain Brawl competitions. I don't know if they still have those or not.
Wow,
in the
Brain
public
Brawl.
schools.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, and spent a lot of time. Actually, as I was driving here to the studios and coming up to the stadium, they would have the fall fairs there every fall, and I remember being there with friends and just the smell in the air. I think really sticks with me. So it's really great to be back home.
So you are married. You have two children. I've got to ask: does being a professional diplomat make you better at those jobs?
Huh?
Does it make you relate better to your wife and your children? Are you have a skill set that you can share with the rest of us?
I will say at some point I might write a book about diplomacy and parenting. Some of the very similar
Sign me
lessons.
up.
Exactly, absolutely, that's right.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit. You work in South Africa. You, I believe, live in D.C. area.
No, I'm posted in South Africa now, so I live there with my family, except for my sons who are back in the United States now for education. But when I'm not posted abroad, then yes, our home is in the Northern Virginia area, outside of Washington.
And so talk to us about living in South Africa. What is the state of U.S. relations with South Africa, and what is your role in managing those relationships?
Sure. Well, the U.S.-South Africa relationship is a strategic relationship. It's important for both of us. South Africa is the most developed economy on the African continent. It is also one of the most important voices in what many people call the global south of developing countries. The United States has its largest diplomatic presence in the entire continent of Africa in South Africa, and one of the largest in the world. And so as ambassador and chief of mission, I'm responsible for 1,400 people that work in our embassy there. We have some 50 separate U.S. government offices and agencies, over 4 different posts in the country. Our embassy is in the capital in Pretoria, and then we have consulates in Cape Town, Johannesburg, and Durban. And so we do a great deal in terms of helping to manage the diplomatic bilateral relationship, and we've had a number of very senior engagements between members of our government and their government, both in Washington and also in South Africa.
And so I think of that as overall a pretty solid relationship. They're allies. They're not currently at war. It's kind of a stable place. But last year, I think that you had a situation that showed that can be a delicate balance. There was some concern about some comments you made. Tell us what happened there. It was involving whether South Africa is kind of moving closer to Russia in its war with Ukraine.
Sure. So South Africa's foreign policy is one that they describe as non-alignment, meaning that they enjoy and seek to have cordial diplomatic relationships with everybody. And our perspective, of course, is that South Africa, is a sovereign country, and we respect your non-alignment. If there are situations in which there are actions that are taken that appear to be not non-aligned and that are contrary to our vital national interest, then we need to have a discussion. And so we had one of those situations in late 2022 when a sanctioned Russian cargo vessel pulled into South Africa's key naval port. And we had a series of discussions over a series of months about what that means. We have been grateful that the government of South Africa has publicly addressed it, that they have conducted an investigation, and our governments have agreed that we're not going to talk about it publicly further.
The concern at the time, though, just to be clear, was that Russia that Russia may have been getting arms to fight in Ukraine while it was ported there in South Africa. That was kind of an effort to either collect some arms from South Africa, or um, or, or to use in Ukraine. That was kind of the nature of the concern.
Indeed. And as I've said, we have, although we are partners, we have different views on a variety of situations around the world, Russia, Ukraine being one, Israel, Gaza being another. But we remain and maintain very robust conversations behind the scenes in order to do what the South Africans say, to find each other, to try to find ways to find common ground as we address these very difficult and thorny issues together.
Talk to us a little bit about the post-apartheid realities in South Africa, and what that means for living there, for people who are Black, people who are white, how that relationship is going, and how the government is, working, or in some cases, having some difficulties managing that transition.
Sure. Well, for those perhaps younger listeners that may not be fully familiar, the system of apartheid in South Africa was official state-sanctioned segregation in which a white minority of South Africans essentially denied rights to the majority Black population. I mean, the most basic rights. All Black people were required to hold passes. Black South Africans, which constituted the vast majority of the population, were not even considered citizens. So it was illegal for them to even have a passport, illegal for them to even be outside of the country. And the vast majority of the wealth went towards the white minority that was in control. This led to a substantial anti-apartheid struggle, which, to cut a long story short, culminated in the release of Nelson Mandela from prison in 1990. And the first free democratic elections of South Africa in April 1994.
He was the leader of the African National Congress.
Indeed, was one of the leaders of the African National Congress. That's correct. Mm-hmm. And so this year, this May, in fact, May 29th, marks 30 years since the advent of full democracy in South Africa. And quite frankly, there have been an awful lot of challenges. The good news, of course, is that all South Africans are fully free and equal in the law, all have full access to political participation. But the full promise of the end of apartheid has actually not yet occurred, with massive unemployment, substantial crime, and other social challenges.
A lot to manage and a lot to work with every day, but it's a pleasure to meet you. Reuben Brigety, South African ambassador, thanks for being here, and thanks for the work that you do.
Thank you so much for having me.